Hi, it's Mr. Pelargonium, and I'm going to run through the fantastic exhibits that were staged at the Pelargonium and Geranium Society annual show that was held this year in association with Fibrex Nurseries at their fantastic site in Stratford-Upon Avon at the village of Pebworth. And these are the winners, and I'm going to encompass as many as the first, second and thirds as I can. We start with class 1. This is class 1, and this is the 3-pot class, 1 basic zonal, 1 dwarf and 1 miniature zonal. And this was won by Peter Waving. The large plant at the back is Annie Grace. That's a non-commercial cultivar. Willowbrook was the dwarf, and the Rose of Amsterdam was the fantastic miniature. Moving on then to this class 2, some really fantastic regals were shown by Bob Clark, who's a fantastic grower of regals. First place was this pair, that's Lilac Royale in the front, and the plant of Eddie in the back. Fantastic pair. Second prize also went to Bob with Hazel Rose, that was at the front, and an unnamed variety at the back. Third place went to Keith Bush. He's another top grower from the south. Hazel Rose at the back and Eddie at the front. Fantastic pairs of regals. That's a 2-plant regal class. Brilliant plants, as were nearly all of those exhibited in the open sections. The 2 plants of regal have to be different cultivars. First place was on the left. This was Kirsty, Quantock Kirsty at the back, and Quantock Louise, 2 Ken Diamond plants that were grown again by Bob Clark. Another pair from Bob Clark, Quantock Kirsty at the back and Quantock Louise at the front again. 2 brilliant sets of plants, first, second and third was Graham Strevens with Swedish Angel and Quantock Angelique. Moving on to the dwarfs. It was actually the miniatures, I do beg your pardon. Moving on to the 2 pair of miniatures. Flaming Katie at the back there and Gyps Meg at the front. Sometimes grown as a dwarf, Gyps Meg, but that was they were grown by Ian Anderson. Fantastic plants. Ian's a brilliant zonal grower. And as we move on to the pair of dwarfs, some fantastic plants in this bunch. Ian Anderson got first place there with Occol Profusion at the front and Bembridge at the back. I'm just homing into a plant at the back there because that plant of mine, Shrivenham Star, actually got the best zonal. It was actually placed third in the pairs, but missed out on on winning the class. But the individual plant was pulled out as being the best zonal plants, best dwarf zonal, I do beg your pardon. Second place there is a plant of Dibbonsdale and Gyps Eleanor Renton, or a reverted version of it, because Eleanor Renton is a white with the red specks, but that's a reverted version. Right, we move on then to the miniature Stellas, and this is a pair of miniature Stellas. In first place was Ian Anderson, brilliant Stella grower, Rushmore Golden Ruffles and Lisa Joe. That was the pair there that we homed in on. Right, we'll just move on then. Okay, yeah, so the pair of dwarf zonals. Now, this was the grower Julie Kitson. She won that class with Top Cliff and Freshwater. Lovely pair of dwarf Stellas. Grandad Mac and Wyn Ellison making up the second place. And a pair of mine, Robin Louise at the front, and Mrs. May Lars, a bicolour Stella at the back of those pairs. So moving on now to the single classes then. Bob Clark, as we've already seen some of his plants, Brilliant Angel, Quantock Louise, a brilliant plant grown by Bob. Peter Waving got second place with another Quantock Louise. And Bob Clark gets the third place with a lovely old breed duet. You don't see that in the show so much these days, but a fantastic bicolour angel. You don't often see that in the shows these days. So moving on round, and we move in now to a very tightly contested class. This was the one plant regal class. That in the end was won by another plant by Bob Clark. Vicky Town, that was the one, quite an old variety, but Pierce variety, I think. That was one of Bob's plants, and that one won the class. It was one of mine, and Fibrex released this plant, Elsie Taylor of mine, this year in their nursery, and I was very pleased to get second place with that. It came quite late for me, but it's a nice new variety, and that I named after my mother, who died 40 years ago this year. So very pleased in a way that got a second place. The third, Bob Clark again with Hazel Wright. And again, a slightly older variety, but very well used and very well grown over the years. That was a highly contested class, some very good quality plants in that class. Brilliant exhibits staged right through. So we move on then to class 10, which is the single basic zonal, and a fantastic plant. This plant actually got the best basic zonal. It was a plant of Highfield's choice, grown by Ian Anderson. Annie Grace was grown by Peter Waving. That got second place. Got a really good zone to the leaf. Hasn't been released yet, I don't think, that plant. I don't know whether Fibrex are thinking of releasing it at some stage, but a beautiful single variety, very vivid blooms. And another Highfield's choice in third place by Julie Kitson. What do we got next? We got the pears, the back side of the pears class. We move on then to the double basic zonals, and this is a class that I did win with a plant of Point South. This is doubles or semi-doubles, and this did quite well for me at the Bristol show as well. Loads and loads of blooms. That's what I think probably won it for it. Done very well. Probably one of the best basic zonals I've ever grown. Peter Waving in second place. Highfield's Festival, slightly older variety. The Highfields always make very good plants. And Peter Waving with another Point South there in third place, making up that class 11. Very good plants, so basic zonals.